Prime Minister Liz Truss is meeting world leaders at Downing Street this afternoon. We've already seen Justin Trudeau come and we think go. But let's get right up to speed now with our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, who is at Downing Street for us now. Latest runners and riders, Darren.
Yeah, indeed. As you say, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, has been in Downing Street. He literally left a couple of minutes ago. Liz Truss meeting many of the world leaders who are in town effectively for that funeral service. Tomorrow she's expected to meet the Irish Prime Minister, the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, later on, alongside the Polish President, President Duda, as well. There was due to be a meeting, though, later on this afternoon between the new Prime Minister and Joe Biden, the US President, inside Downing Street. However, that's been somewhat postponed to a full bilateral meeting that we're expecting to see at the United Nations when the Prime Minister is there later on this week in New York. So there is going to be that meeting, but it's just going to be in a couple of days' time rather than Downing Street. Interestingly, though, we've got this big reception, don't we, Alistair, for those world leaders tonight. 500 in attendance alongside their partners, so 1,000 people really expected at Buckingham Palace. Everyone from the President of India through to the King of Spain and the King of Belgium to the Vice President of China. I could go on. There's going to be a lot of the great and good, possibly the greatest gathering of world leaders this country has ever seen, maybe even globally as well, certainly since the state funeral of Winston Churchill back in 1965. And we've already seen some of those world leaders gather actually in Westminster Hall to pay their own tribute to Her Majesty the Queen. Some others have travelled to Lancaster House to sign the Book of Condolence to Her Majesty as well. And so it is a busy day politically. We talked a little about this yesterday, didn't we? You know, it is an opportune moment, maybe in the most saddest of times, or solemn of times, for the UK to flex a little bit of its soft power on the diplomatic stage, given the fact that so many important people are here. So Liz Truss is also going to travel a little bit later on from Downing Street to Buckingham Palace for an audience, another audience with the King, alongside the Cabinet as well, who will be in attendance at that official function a little later on this evening.
Brilliant, Darren. Absolutely everything we need to know. I just on terms of your analogy, Michael Cole here in the studio with me says it's the biggest gathering since the conference for the Treaty of Vienna.
How are you?
Now, I'm stopping because things are happening here. That's the Deputy Prime Minister. Over to Darren.
That's to raise coffee.
Yeah, to raise coffee. Just arriving inside Downing Street this afternoon. Again, you know, it is interesting that in many ways, isn't it, Alistair, that and we're going to see people coming in and out of the street quite a lot today, that government is in some ways quite suspended. Yes, there's, you know, the functions, the everyday stuff happening, but also the big kind of policy announcements have been put on hold. And you know, the Deputy Prime Minister will be at that reception later, but be in no doubt when the funeral ends tomorrow, when the National Day of Mourning ends tomorrow, the government is going to have to start hitting the ground running again. There are some big decisions to be made this week, not least of all a big fiscal event they're expecting on Friday around taxation. So the government, at the moment, still in that national period of mourning, that will very much come to an end on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, fascinating to see the Deputy Prime Minister go in there, and as you rightly say, Health Secretary. I was just talking to Ellie Cannon, a GP, about a bit of a row that's taking place tomorrow with the health service. Has been told it too can enjoy the bank holiday, but as Ellie said, perhaps with not quite enough planning. There we go. Busy in trays for all of them. Darren, keep in touch. Always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.